Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay. Where did we go so wrong? From beating Atlanta by 7 points last week to losing 40-7 against the Cardinals this week. Want to know what happened? Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers committed 5 turnovers that cost them the game, two of which could have been easily avoided, one of them being the interception that Jameis threw trying to force a pass to Mike Evans when it was 0 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Got intercepted by Patrick Peterson or whoever. Uh, Maybe it was Tyrann Mathieu. Maybe it was Pat Pete. Whoever. The second issue is our defense couldn't stop Carson Palmer and his passing attack. They couldn't stop Chris Johnson and David Johnson from running all over us. Mike Smith, I don't know why the Buccaneers hired you, but you, my friend, have to hold your defense accountable to the amount of mental mistakes that they made. We need to upgrade in free safety immediately. Chris Conte sucks. Who the fuck lets Carson Palmer throw a 51-yard pass to Jarvis Brown for a touchdown at the end of the second quarter? How is that possible? Turning point of this game, and the first turnover that could have been prevented, was Jameis Winston was running a draw play. Charles Sims thought it was a pass play, so he went to pass block. He knocked the ball out of Jameis Winston's hand using his helmet, and of course the Cardinals picked it up. And then from there, when we were down 10-0, the Arizona Cardinals moved down the field. They got 2 touchdowns off the aerial attack to make it 24-0. And then from there, I knew we would lose. The only players that are worth their weight in salt on defense is Gerald McCoy, Robert Ayers, Quan Alexander, and Vernon Hargreaves. Everyone else played like shit today. Levante David, he didn't have a tackle through the entire game. How is that possible? 68 games. 68 games. Having 5+ tackles. And in this game, he had none. None whatsoever. He couldn't tackle Carson. He couldn't tackle Larry Fitzgerald. He couldn't tackle Josh or Jarvis Brown. He couldn't tackle Chris Johnson. He certainly couldn't tackle the offensive line if he wanted to. Look, and even with Atlanta, our defense was getting killed. Mike Smith, you need to resign as our defensive coordinator, and we need to hire somebody that can make a prolific defense out of the Buccaneers defense right now. Because you have the makings of a beast defense. But without the proper coaching and the proper direction, it's going to be garbage. And Jameis, don't even get me started. Your 4 interceptions, you could have prevented one of them from happening. You didn't have to throw the ball deep down the field last play. Look, last play, you could have just ran the ball, got about 10, 15 yards, stepped out of bounds, game would have been over. You would have had a little bit of a chip off of your shoulder. But no. So now our touchdown to interception ratio by you is 5-5, meaning we have a ratio of 1. Doug Martin got injured. Robert Ayers got injured. Who was our standout player at this game? It was probably Mike Evans, but he was guarded by Patrick Peterson most of the time, so I don't really count it. plus Robert Aguayo. How could you miss a kick inside a dome like that? Didn't they show you how to make kicks, how to make field goals in fucking domes in Florida State? How do you miss a field goal in your range, by the way? How do you miss it just barely to the right of the goalpost? So now we're 1-1. We're going to play the LA Rams next week, who may be 1-1 after their game with Seattle. Dirk Koetter, you've got to reprimand everybody on the team for the way they played. You have got to grow a set of balls and encourage your players to perform better. Rip them apart for the performance they have displayed today. That kind of lax attitude, it's already failed. When we were in the playoffs against the Philadelphia Eagles, Tony Dungy's lax attitude cost the Buccaneers a chance to win the Super Bowl. Thus, he was fired. Next season, John Gruden stepped in, talked some sense into everybody, ripped them apart. Guess what? We won a Super Bowl against the Oakland Raiders and Rich Gannon. So, time to put this lax attitude behind us and go back to the roots of John Gruden. Rip players apart for their performances, and maybe we may have more wins under our belt. And maybe we may even have a win against the Los Angeles Rams. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. We have not done very good against the Rams throughout 7 seasons. Or 5 seasons, rather. This season, that all has to change. And I'm expecting Jameis to put up 3 touchdowns. 2 to Mike Evans, 1 to Safarian Jenkins. And I expect our defense to cause 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown. And I expect a total dominant offense and defense next week.